Hi, I thought I'd record a video just to help out in case anyone else needs to do an oil change. So this is an RG1, it's a K20A3 IV Tech motor. So the first thing was to try and work out where the filter was. So as you can see, it's at the back of the engine. A little bit awkward to get to because of the drive shaft underneath it. So my plan is actually to take the wheel off, coming from the side. So the first thing you're going to need to do is drain the old oil out. Now it's 17mm nut on the drain. Grab yourself a socket. Yep, and you're going to turn it towards the driver's side wheel. Nothing to it really. Stick that on the end. I did use a rubber mallet just to give it a couple of taps, just to get it going. After that it should undo by your fingers. This is an oil drain can, so it's got a hole in the side and obviously on the end, so you can tip it out once you're done. But remember to take the little bung out as well, otherwise it makes a vacuum and it kind of spits absolutely everywhere. So take that out, it should all flow in nice and easy. So this is the drain bolt that came out. You can see I've got an invoice from when I got the car, and it did have a service done to it, but you can see the end of the nut looks pretty gunky. To be fair, I couldn't see any chunks of metal or anything on it, so I'm fairly happy with that. One other thing you can do before it finishes draining is just take the filler cap off, and that just means there's no vacuum inside the engine, caused from the oil gushing out, and that should hopefully help the last few drips coming off. So this is the official Honda filter. You would have seen in the footage before that it had just a blueprint part on it, and that's probably fine, but given that these are only 12, 14 quid delivered, might as well get the official thing rather than saving 2 or 3 quid. And it came with the little washer as well that would just squeeze back between the nut and the sump. So pop that on. As you can see, I cleaned up the end. Also clean up the thread so there's no bits of grit inside there. You don't want that. And then, if you're happy it's all drained out, you can put it straight back in the bowl. Do it by hand. You really don't need to do it that tight initially. Just give it a spin around, and hopefully you can kind of feel it bite, get into the thread. Shouldn't be too much to worry about. It's not like the sump's made of alloy or anything, but again, you don't want to cross thread it because then it's just going to leak or you're going to wreck the thread for the next time. But hopefully, once it's done, do it up finger tight. At this point, I pulled out the old oil can, get rid of that, and you'll see maybe this wasn't the right time in a minute. So now we've got, with the oil drained out, you see I made a little bit of a puddle, but nothing too bad. We tighten it up. Literally I just put a little bit of force on it, nothing too much. Again, you're trying to make a tight seal, you're not trying to force it really hard or anything. So the oil's out, the bung is back in. Now you want to take off the old filter. So I'm going to take the wheel off again. I'm not going to show you the wheel coming off. If you can take a wheel off, easy peasy, job done. 19mm nuts. I assume probably the 2.4 and the 2 litre are probably all the same size. I can't imagine they use different hubs or anything like that. I'd rather not get crushed by a car. So I tend to stick the wheel underneath the side rail, just in case anything ever happened. I'd rather crush an alloy than crush my skull. We can now see where the filter is. You can see it's above the drive shaft coming across, so coming from underneath is going to be really awkward, so wheel off, coming from the side you've actually got a good bit of hand space. I've got these clamp style filter puller, I don't know what you want to call it. You can get chain ones, they'll probably do exactly the same job and do it pretty well under here, but to be honest, there's quite a bit of clearance that actually these probably work easier. And yeah, just you're going upwards from the outside. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. Now you see where I mentioned maybe don't pull the your oil catch can out at this point, because yeah, you'll see what I'm gonna do. Oh, lots of oil comes out. So go grab that, stick it back under, and the filter's a little bit further over to the left than where the salt drain was. So pop that under, and then you can just use your hand. Once you cracked it off, again, it should be a nice smooth thread, so it'll just undo. And I would say you could easily have shoved some rags underneath the filter. There's probably only like 100 ml of oil in there tops, but again, stand it as upright as you can, as soon as you can, to stop spilling oil everywhere. And then I just turn that upside down, leave that on my catch can thing, whatever you want to call it. Again, there's a little hole there, you can probably shove a rag in that to help wedge the rag in somewhere, so it'll actually not drop out whilst all the oil leaks. I'll just save you a bit of a clean up job. One thing I'll just show is the oil filler, because of how far back the engine is pushed underneath the kind of cowl of the windscreen. If you've got a little funnel, it's actually good if you've got one that's got a little flexi extender. So as you saw from the instructions written on the side of the oil filter, it says put a little bit of oil on the O-ring. Annoyingly, the recording I made of me putting the filter back on corrupted, but basically it's all very loose. Just put it on with your fingers, start twisting it, and you'll feel if the thread's caught. Again, with this one you don't want to cross thread it, because you're screwing it onto what is an alloy thread at that point, and alloy is quite soft, so after a few twists, if it's on, then it will spin quite freely as you start to tighten it up. And then, like it said, if you've got something that with a torque wrench, I think it was 10 to 14 Newton meters, or it says do 3/4 of a turn, once you've got it on there kind of tight, you want to put in about 4 litres, maybe 4.25 or something, if you're swapping the oil and the filter. Do it under, because you can always add. You can't. It gets very awkward to try and take oil back out of it unless you've got a pump. So this is me starting it up for the first time. Just let it run, and hopefully there's no oil pressure warning light. Do let me know if you think my engine sounds weird. I've had the car about a year, and it sounds alright, but to be honest, it's a little bit ticky, and the transmission's a bit ticky as well, so I'm never actually convinced that it's in completely perfect health, but at idle it all seems pretty smooth and everything. Under load it gets a little bit noisier, but it could just be an injector. Let it run. As you start it, it might make a tiny bit of noise, just for about a second. If it still makes a lot of noise after that, turn it off. Leave it for a bit, let the oil settle, and check your dipstick. But hopefully it'll be nice and smooth after that. That's about it. So hopefully this video was of some use to somebody somewhere in the world. Yeah, just thought I'd make it so that if you're coming at this for the first time like I did, it may just help, particularly like realising that it's probably easier to come from the side than go in underneath to try and get the old filter off. Anyway, bye bye.